Hello and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that is fascinated with the military exploits of Belisarius. Belisarius, of course, was the Byzantine general who reconquered much of the former Roman Empire for Constantinople. He then went on to develop Airwolf, Quantum Leap, and JAG for NBC. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking of Belisarius, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at Commands and Colors Medieval from GMT Games. In Commands and Colors Medieval from GMT Games, two players are going to take on different sides in these epic medieval conflicts. You will play as either the Romans or the Byzantines on one side, the purple, or as the tan, you'll play the Sassanids or the Huns. So what you're going to do is essentially get all of your blocks together for a specific scenario. There are different scenarios that say how your blocks are supposed to be placed on the game board, what terrain features are going to be on that game board as well. Now the blocks themselves represent your units, and you have collections of blocks. Usually 3 or 4 blocks in a space represent a unit. And these blocks, of course, have symbols on them. If they are green circles, then that means they're lighter units, like bowmen or light infantry. Then you can have medium-level units, which are blue triangles. Then you have heavier units, which are red squares. And each of these types of units, the green circles, the blue triangles, and the red squares, they also have bordered units, which have borders around those shapes, that mean they are elite units as well. Now this is a typical Commands and Colors games. You have the game board, which is blank, and you put the various terrain features on there, and then you set up the blocks according to the scenario rules. Now the scenario is going to tell you different things, how many command cards you draw at the beginning of the round, as well as specific victory conditions or any other kooky things that might be going on. It will also tell you how many influence tokens you are going to have. Those influence tokens are going to be pretty important as the game progresses. So in typical Commands and Colors fashion, essentially you have your command cards, and every turn you can play a command card and then activate that number of units, which then move and can battle, and then you draw another command card at the end of your turn, and that's your turn. How battle works, again, it's very familiar. You roll die, you roll a number of die, depending on what unit you have and how far they've moved. You roll that die, and they can, of course, be ranged attacks, or they can be melee attacks, and if you roll the symbols associated with the unit you are attacking, for instance, again, those shapes and those colors, then that unit must take a hit. If you are in a melee attack and you roll the swords, you must take a hit. If you have a general present or adjacent to you and you roll a general symbol, that unit must take a hit. And if you roll the retreat, then that unit must retreat back toward the player a number of spaces. So it's very familiar to other players of Commands and Colors. Now you have the 3 different parts of the board, the center, the right flank, and the left flank, and of course you're playing the cards that let you activate units on those specific flanks. But it's not just playing cards on those flanks, there's all sorts of other cards that can pop up. You can counterattack, essentially do the last card that was played by your enemy. You can do special cards that let you just bombard with your ranged weapons. Like I say, there's many different cards that can come up in this game. There are also leadership cards that let your leaders do specific things, and these are important because when your leaders do things, depending on if you have leadership tokens, you can spend them to activate special leadership abilities, which are found on a special player aid leadership card. And these things can be very powerful. They can kind of mimic powerful cards from the deck and let you move in certain ways, attack in certain ways, rally your troops in certain ways, and that can be very important in the heat of battle. Now again, just as in other Commands and Colors games, you're attempting to destroy enemy units and you gain banners for them. Depending on what a certain specific scenario says, you're going to destroy a certain number of units and gain those banners. Once you gain the requisite number of banners, then you win that scenario of Commands and Colors Medieval. So I am a huge fan of Commands and Colors. Commands and Colors games I've just always enjoyed. Back, I think it was in, nearly 20 years ago, I played Battle Cry for the first time, which I just thought was outstanding. I loved Battle Cry. My friend Zach and we played that just a ton. It was funny because we played a scenario. So we had time for a scenario, and we would end up playing 6 or 7 scenarios. It was just so much fun. We just loved that game so much. We played it and we played it and we played it. And in fact, when I moved down here, I gave him that copy of Battle Cry because I was just thinking, I'm probably not going to play it again. And then I started thinking, I really want to play that game again. And I ended up buying one of the newer copies down here. But since then, I played other Commands and Colors games as well. Memoir 44 is a fantastic World War II era game. Commands and Colors Napoleonics, which I really enjoy. I played the Great War, which I enjoyed. So I played a lot of these different games. And in fact, just earlier this year, I believe I played the Red Alert, which is kind of the one in space, which is fun as well. But it's a great system. What I like about this specific system, first of all, let me say, my favorite of all of them has been Commands and Colors Napoleonics. And to me, it had the most nuance, it had the most flavor, and it was just my favorite. This one is good, and what I actually like about this one is it's got the dice are like laser cut. The dice in this are beautiful. They're much better than the ones from Napoleonics where you put the stickers on the sides. I wish they'd make a dice pack for Napoleonics just because I love the dice that came with Medieval. But it's an absolutely brilliant system, and it's so much fun. Now, there's a lot of chance here. There's a lot of chance in what cards are going to come up, and of course, there's a lot of chance with the dice. So this isn't the most strategic game necessarily. This is a light war game. But what's cool about it is it's a great gateway game into wargaming. I think the Commands and Colors games are games that wargamers can play, but they're games that non-wargamers, just general board gamers can play, and they're both going to have a blast. These games are so much fun, and I really like some of the nuance and the new little subtle changes and subtle things they brought to the Medieval game. For instance, I really enjoy the inspiration tokens, how you can play those leadership cards and then activate the inspiration, the different inspirations that you can do that kind of give you that edge when you need it or a little help when you need it. I think that's really quite a bit of fun, and I really like that. The artwork here too is really good. I like just the borders on the cards and whatnot. I think that's a lot of fun. The different scenarios, there's a lot of variety in the scenarios. I've only played a few of the scenarios so far, but I'm reading through it, and there's a lot of variety here. This game is just awesome. I mean, I'm going to go right now, I love this game. Do I love it as much as Commands and Colors Napoleon? Probably not, and that's more a thematic issue than a gameplay issue, just because I love the Napoleonic era. I've done a Napoleonic component for my PhD program I'm working here, so I really appreciate the Napoleon stuff. But there's something about this one I just really like. In fact, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to say this one, right now as it stands, is a contender for GOY for me. That's a big deal, but I really got to think about it, but I may have had more fun playing this game than any other game I played this year. Really a lot of fun. I cannot recommend it enough to both wargamers and non-wargamers. You are going to have a blast with this game. The recommendation for the discriminating gamer for Commands and Colors Medieval is absolutely 100%. Do yourself a favor, buy it. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. We are The Discriminating Gamer, and if you would like to learn more about the campaigns of Belisarius, I'd recommend Victor Davis Hanson's book, The Savior Generals. He not only looks at what Belisarius was and kind of the way his society treated him after his battles, but he also looks at other Savior Generals who did much the same thing in different eras. He looks at Themistocles, General Sherman, Ridgway, and David Petraeus. I recommend that book as well.
Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band.
Sean, I gotta tell you, I really love that Uncle Sam outfit and the way you've really gotten into the spirit of this game.
Thanks, Cody. And I like how you've really gotten into the spirit of the game with your drab, humble, communist clothing, your round, Khrushchev-like face, that blank stare that just screams public education, your propensity to always split the bill perfectly even, although we know that you ate more onion rings than the rest of us, and your unwillingness to name names, even though you are full aware who egged my car last week, and your complete lack of overall hygiene that will ensure that no one ever loves you. You have really brought the whole feel of communism to the table. Well, anyway, on with the review.
Yeah, let's review the game now.